You don't need $150,000 to get into a G-Wagen. I'm here to talk about why you shouldn't be shying away from high mileage G-Wagons. So long as you know what you're getting into, you can educate yourself and get yourself into a really quality truck for not a lot of money. So some of the things, when you're shopping for a truck, you're gonna find them with mileages all across the board. You're gonna find some examples which are 50,000 miles on the clock, and you're gonna find some that are 150,000 miles on the clock. Both can be great options. But what we found doing this as long as we have is sometimes it's the lower mileage trucks that have been neglected far worse than the high mileage ones. Usually when you get a high mileage truck, that means it's been driven, maintained regularly, and serviced regularly by professionals. So again, this is one of those things. It's a 150,000 miles truck. It's in for some routine maintenance and service. We've got a crank seal issue. Not a big deal on that one. Here's an example though of a low mileage G63 that's got some bigger issues going on, and we're just getting it back together and back on the road again. But some of the things you want to look for when you're doing this and when you're looking for a new truck is you want to look for service history, and this is really critically important. What that means is there's two sides of the Carfax equation. One is the accident history, and that's what most dealerships are going to give you, but the service history is just as important. And any good independent shop will be able to get you that service history. We have access to all that for every single truck that comes through our bay here. And we'll put a link to show what that looks like on our end. But you're going to want to look for regular maintenance and service from day one, right from the dealership, all the way to current day. And you're looking for oil changes, you're looking for your major A and B services, and you're looking for all the gearboxes to be serviced. Largely, these are wildly mechanical trucks. So you have transmissions, transfer cases, front axles, rear axles, steering systems. A lot of fluids just need service on these. So as long as you keep up on that, you can get a lot of miles out of these trucks. So I'm going to show you what it looks like on our end from service history standpoint. We have access to all of Carfax data, and we're going to look at this 2006 G55 we have parked in our parking lot. It just came in. We're going to do a different set of wheels on this, and he's got a rear axle issue that we're going to square away. But here we go. I pulled this up, and ranging from mileage, dates, times, all the rough stuff that's been done. Now, this isn't specific to us. This is one of those things that most good quality independents and most dealerships should have access to this. And anytime we get a new vehicle that's into us, we always take time to pull up the vehicle history report on the mechanic's side to make sure that we can account for what has been done and most importantly, what hasn't been done. And so we can help fill the gaps to make sure that your vehicle's up to speed and you get a quality vehicle when it rolls out of here. Okay, so to iterate, we have another video out there that's pre-buy checklist and things you can look for on your own when you're shopping for a new G-Wagen. But to go over that, the basic things underneath the truck you want to look for are oil leaks, coolant leaks, or general wetness. Now, this is a truck that's fairly low miles. We have it up in the air, but we're just going to kind of point to some areas. The key thing is you've got a transmission, which is usually a black case on the underside of the truck. You want to make sure that pan is nice and dry and not leaking a bunch of fluid. Right behind that's going to be your transfer case. It's an aluminum box. Again, make sure it's dry. It doesn't have a lot of leaks, and everything looks nice and tight and solid. When they start to age, it's not uncommon to see them sweat a little bit of fluid. We do offer full service to reseal those and bring those back to life again. Not something to really shy away from. On the rear end of the trucks, they're usually pretty stout. Very rarely do we see anything major go wrong with the rear of these trucks, new or old. They're just very, very well built. But again, you want to look for wheel seal issues and look for any oil coming from either of the wheel bearings on the outer edges. If you see kind of fluid seepage or oil, things like that, that means you've got a wheel bearing or a wheel seal that's on its way out, and something that you will have to get addressed at some point in time. Now, on the front of the trucks, now this is an independent truck, so it's a little bit different, but a solid axle truck, you're going to want to look at the swivel balls. Make sure you don't have a lot of green grease coming out of the swivel balls on those trucks. Again, that's a sign that you've got a inner CV axle shaft seal that's starting to leak, or a boot that's torn open, and it will need to be addressed. But again, we usually don't see that till you get about 120,000 miles or about 15 to 20 years of age on it, realistically. So that's some of the things I want you to look for when you're shopping for a truck underneath. They're pretty stout. Otherwise, obviously the usual stuff, brakes, tie rod ends, all that jazz. Most dealerships are going to shake that down and get you a pretty solid answer no matter what. All right, so this truck represents a tremendous value. The rule of thumb on these is this is a 2015 G550, $50,000, 50,000 miles, kind of the 50-50 club. This is kind of the sweet spot for G-Wagons. It gets you into the modern interior. It has the last hurrah, the naturally aspirated V8. The mileage is right. This is a few more than 50,000 miles, but I want to use this as an example to show the kind of value they can expect to find in today's market. We've done a couple exterior mods to this truck that have really made the truck uniquely special to the owner of this. We've blacked out the the chrome on the brush guard up front. We've done a 2-inch lift with JWO springs, Coney Raid shocks, brake lines. It's got Hutchison bead locks, bigger tires. I think they're 33-inch tires. And he's added the roof rack and the iCamper up top. So it really added a lot of exterior enhancements to the truck that he's going to use it for camping, overlanding, and really get a lot of use out of this truck. We've also done some cool stuff to the inside. But again, this is a really sweet package. The mileage is right, the price is right, and you've got a lot of life out of this truck ahead of it. So, all right, let's take a look at the inside of this truck. This is a tremendous value. $50,000 truck, 2015 G550. The interior is a great place to be. The leather wears well. The surfaces hold up great. We've done the usual Android Auto upgrade on this. You have a touchscreen, Apple CarPlay integration, all the usual stuff. It really classes it up and gives it a lot more functionality. The cool thing about these also I found out is you can upload the app for like a Garmin Tread or Onyx Off-Road. You can put that on there so you have one screen that kind of incorporates everything. Kind of cool things on these slightly older trucks. It gives you a lot of functionality and use. All right, let's talk about this era of trucks, 2002 through 2011 G500s and G55s. These also represent a tremendous value. This is a case where the truck's still relatively low miles and the owner's taken the time to upgrade it with portal axles, 2-inch lift, king suspension, central tire inflation, a whole list of goodies. The truck is insane. It's coming back for a few other mods, but I want to take a second to reflect on this and some things you want to look for on these trucks. They typically wear very well. These represent a tremendous value point, and you can get into these trucks, the G500 versions, usually in the mid-30s, low 40s for a really low mileage example. But it's a lot of truck for the money, and they make great off-road platforms, largely because they are incredibly reliable. The interiors on these trucks are pretty robust and simple. We just washed the outside. Now we need to clean the inside before we work on it. But he's taken the time. He's added a couple goodies. We've got onboard air. We've got the controller down below. And obviously he wheels it with the windows down, so we got mud on the inside too. But you know, you can upgrade these as well with your audio packages. You can, a lot of people will change the seats out in leather. You can really make them uniquely yours. But the key thing we like about the earlier trucks is they come with the 113 V8, known as the LS of the Mercedes world. They're reliable as heck. You can run crap gas through them all day long and they'll always get you home. By and large, they just don't break. Some of the things you got to watch out for though, on the higher mileage G55s, over 130, 150,000 miles, we see that they will start to drink a little bit of oil. There's a few anomalies out there where they're just perfect, so those are awesome. But that's the one thing that we see on the compressor models. Aside from that, the naturally aspirated V8s are total rock stars, and we routinely see the naturally aspirated V8s going to almost 300,000 miles on the original motors, stock internals, no major mods, just regular service and maintenance, and they just go. They don't break. So this is kind of an overly exaggerated example of you have a tremendous truck that has a ton of power, a lot of potential, and to capitalize on that, ran 38-inch tires, portal axles, higher suspension, off-road bumpers, winch, lights, the works. Kind of a neat way to go on this. So trucks you want to avoid, for starters, where the insides are on the outsides. You want to stay away from those. The other thing is, you want to stay away from trucks that have large gaps in service history or have clear signs of abuse, i.e. big accidents or just haven't been put together very well. Also look for signs of overspray, shoddy paintwork, accident history, or just a ton of owners. That's one of those things that always kind of catches me as a red flag. It's one thing to have dealership ownership where it transfers from dealer to dealer to dealer. That doesn't necessarily mean anything bad. It just means it's probably wholesaled a couple of times and it just never found a home. I don't usually shy away from that, but where it goes from independent party to independent party, you know, 6, 7, 10, 12 times, that's where I start to wonder what's going on with this truck, and I start to look a little closer. This is obviously an extreme example. Don't pay attention to this. For effect, we did this, but again, if the parts are on the outside and they're supposed to be on the inside, stay away. So there really aren't any particular models to stay away from. G-Wagons inherently are very reliable, very robust. Now, the peak G-Wagen reliability is going to be your 2013 through 2015 G550s. And they're naturally aspirated, they're still hand-built in garage, and they have all the right electronics in there. They've been matured enough to know what works and what doesn't. We just don't see a lot of things go wrong with those trucks. The things where we see a few more things happen electronically, or there's just kind of weird anomalies, is going to be your 02 through 2011 trucks. Those things we see some kind of weird stuff every now and then. and it's all fixable. We just see more of it with the older trucks, and hence they're a little bit less money. But by and large, these trucks are wildly reliable, extremely robust, and hand-built. All right, one thing I didn't mention yet is the 16 through 18 G-Wagen models. The 550 and the 63, both of those are turbocharged motors. They are still very reliable. We just don't see the same reliability with the hot V 4-liter motor that's in the 16 through 18 550s. And you know, the 5.5-liter twin turbo V8 that's in the 63s came out in 13 and all the way through 18. They are still very reliable, but you have a lot more complexity. So for the purpose of this video, we're talking about simplicity, ease of maintenance, reliability, and if you've got a rough budget that you're trying to stick within, you likely want to stay away from some of the later AMG models and the 16 through 18 G550s. And largely boils down to a couple things. With turbochargers, you've got complexity, added coolant lines, added oil lines, a lot of extra coolers up front that you need to pay attention to, and they're susceptible to leaks. Even bird strikes, we've had a few in here where a bird will go through it and cause all sorts of expensive damage. So again, great trucks. Don't want to shy away from it and just a kick in the pants to drive. But from a budget standpoint, probably not the best option, but still phenomenal trucks. High mileage is not a red flag. It's a conversation starter. You're buying an overbuilt vehicle that is hand-built. For $50,000, you can get yourself in a new Toyota, a Jeep, or a G-Wagen. Enough said. One of the cool things I like about these, and I think people will agree with me, is you can make them uniquely yours. And this is a recap on that. Take this as an example. The client made it uniquely his with the camper, the overlanding stuff, the interior bits and pieces that allows him to really get off grid and explore and have that adventure lifestyle that he's looking for. This is a great example. Or you can go really crazy and build yourself a full up-blown off-roader that can go just about anywhere, tackle Moab, and run over Jeeps in the process. There's no wrong answer here, but for the money, I'd rather be in a G all day long.